You've heard it before. Oh, it won't matter. It's not enough to hurt anything. It'll be completely diluted by the stormwater. The sewage treatment plant will clean it up. For years, people and businesses have used these justifications when they dumped trash into a storm sewer. Most people don't realize that anything dumped into a curb inlet or catch basin winds up, untreated, right in the nearest stream, river, or bay. Our municipal separate storm sewer systems, or MS4s as the EPA calls them, have been used to dispose of just about anything you can think of. Sometimes it can be very obvious, but most often it's small stuff. Just some trash, waste oil, grass clippings, pet wastes, waste antifreeze, cigarette butts, or dozens of other everyday things people want to get rid of quickly and easily. Under federal and state stormwater regulations, one of the responsibilities of MS4 operators is to prevent these illicit discharges. Illicit discharges are any discharges of non-stormwater, virtually anything that didn't originally fall from the sky, into or through the MS4. The process by which MS4s stop these sources of stormwater pollution is called Illicit Discharge Detection and Elimination, or IDDE for short. As its name implies, IDDE is composed of two phases, detection and elimination. The second part of the process, elimination, is primarily the responsibility of specially trained enforcement personnel. But the first part, detection, that's everybody's job. Many municipal employees have ample opportunities to detect illicit discharges while performing their normal work activities. Building, utility, and construction site inspectors, highway and street department employees, police officers and firefighters, Department of Public Works employees, Parks and Rec employees. Illicit discharges can occur just about anywhere, even at municipal facilities. This is why just about every municipal employee or contractor must be trained and prepared to detect illicit discharges on the job. It's a great concern, and you are expected to lend a hand. The best place to spot an illicit discharge is at its source, where it enters the storm drainage system. This usually occurs at the surface, at a storm drain inlet, catch basin, or drainage channel. One of the most common sources is simply trash that didn't quite make it into an outdoor dumpster or trash can. Because paper, plastic, cardboard, packing peanuts, and the like float on the runoff, they are called floatables. Floatables are easily washed into the nearest storm drain inlet. Liquids being disposed in an outdoor trash can or dumpster are also potential discharges. Unless those containers are lidded or covered and leak tight, that dumpster juice will eventually make it into the nearest storm drain with the next rain. Other potential sources include gas stations, garages, and vehicle maintenance shops that dumped used oils, coolants, transmission fluids, or brake fluids down storm drains. Soapy water can escape the wash area at commercial car washes and flow into the street. If floor mats, hood filters, or other restaurant equipment are washed down outside, the wastewater will usually make its way into a storm drain. If spills or drips of waste cooking oil and grease are allowed to accumulate on the tops and sides of recycling bins, stormwater can wash that grease off the exterior and into the storm sewer. If a shopping center, commercial, or municipal facility hoses down or power washes its parking areas or outdoor eating areas, the wastewater will probably go wherever gravity takes it. When a mobile cleaner, such as an auto detailer or carpet cleaner, does not collect its wastewater, it's probably going down the driveway or sidewalk into the street, and you know where. Parks, golf courses, and urban agricultural operations use lots of fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides. What happens to the excess? Down the slope and into the culvert or creek? Uncontrolled runoff from construction sites can carry sediments and silt right into a drain inlet. And one more source: industrial facilities. They generate things like waste paints, solvents, and chemical plating bath wastes. If these wastes make it into the storm drain, the receiving stream is in for a big shock. For municipal employees tasked with detecting illicit discharges, all these sources are relatively easy to spot, as they are happening. The biggest obstacle to spotting a discharge at its source is that more often than not, you don't actually see it happening. In fact, no one is around to see it happening. That's why it's sometimes called midnight dumping. Often, all that is left is evidence of past practices, but alert employees can read these signs too, like stains on storm drain inlets and in open drainage channels. Used oil, paint, radiator coolant, and many other pollutants leave easy-to-spot discoloration. Whatever was being discharged here was so nasty, it stained and corroded the concrete. Similarly, empty containers on or near a storm drain inlet or by the roadside are another dead giveaway. These containers were probably full of something before someone dumped them here. Any small diameter open-ended pipe that appears to discharge onto a driveway, street, or drainage ditch could be a source, especially pipes that are seen to be flowing in dry weather. These are probably discharging non-storm water. Another problem is that some illicit discharges are almost invisible, the result of underground, direct, illegal connections right into the storm drain. Some older buildings were built or modified to include direct plumbing connections from a sanitary device like a sink, toilet, or floor drain into the nearest storm drainage system. This direct plumbing connection could discharge sewage, cleaning wastes, or even chemical wastes directly into the MS4, but never be spotted at its source. Even if no one is around to spot an illicit discharge at its source, the other place they can be spotted is at outfalls. Outfalls are where storm drainage systems discharge their contents into surface waters. The outfall may be an open pipe, culvert, or ditch. All illicit discharges turn up here regardless of how they entered the MS4. Even those underground direct plumbing connections. The first suspicious thing to look for when observing a storm drainage outfall is that dry weather flow. Most outfalls should be dry during extended periods of dry weather unless there's something else flowing in. While there are some allowable non-stormwater discharges like groundwater infiltration in areas with high water tables, most outfalls should not be flowing more than 2 or 3 days after the last rainfall. Another important clue to watch for is the appearance of the water at the outfall. Pure stormwater or snowmelt is clear and bright. If the discharge has any color, if it is dark or cloudy, or if it has a persistent foam floating on top, it is probably contaminated. Runoff contaminated with raw sewage often has a gray, greasy appearance. Runoff with a little bit of gasoline may show a rainbow sheen. If you see this multicolored pattern, there is something more than stormwater there. And gasoline in an MS4 is a special problem because it can cause an explosion that could do extensive damage to public and private property. If the outfall has any odor, that's another bad sign. A raw sewage smell could be from a leaking or clogged sanitary sewer line which passes near a storm drainage pipe. This is a very common problem in older developed areas where sanitary sewer pipes may be 50 or even 100 years old. A rotten or rancid smell could indicate dumping of food wastes or garbage. If the outfall is discharging liquids that appear separate, such as a liquid that floats on or sinks under the water, or there's a visible scum present, that's certainly a red flag. For example, oils and oil-based paints will generally not mix with water. They will normally float on top. Outfalls that are bubbling, foaming, or giving off vapors are always a bad sign. Another thing to look for is the vegetation around the outfall. If nothing grows there, it may have been killed by herbicides or other chemicals in the runoff. The opposite is also true. If the vegetation is especially lush, that could mean lots of nutrients like fertilizers or sewage were present in the runoff. If you see any of these signs, you may be looking at the results of past and, if allowed to continue, future illicit discharges. So now you know all about illicit discharges, the damage they do to the environment, what they look like and how to spot them. Now it's time to step up. It's time to commit to helping eliminate these threats. Certain municipal employees can sometimes take immediate, direct action to stop or reduce a discharge. Many emergency responders have been trained to deal with spills and leaks and carry special supplies. They can deploy absorbents to control a leak before it makes it into the storm system, as with this gasoline coming from an overturned car. However, most employees and contractors will not be able to take such direct action. They may, however, witness an illegal act, such as liquid wastes being disposed in a public park. If this happens, note the date, time, and place of the event. Take a photo. If possible, get the license plate number and report the incident to your supervisor or to the Stormwater, Public Works, or Health Department. But as described earlier, most of the time, all that can be seen is evidence of past discharges, something you see or smell. The same procedures apply here. Note the date, time, and location. Take a photo and report it. There is one important safety precaution. If the source of the discharge is still present, like suspicious containers or bags of unknown material, be warned. These materials can be dangerous. Unless you can positively identify the materials as non-hazardous, do not touch or attempt to move them. Keep your distance and make your report immediately. Based on the information you provide, the Stormwater Authority can get to work pinpointing the source of the discharge and stopping it. The authority has many techniques for tracing down illicit discharges. It will sometimes take samples from an outfall and, by chemical analysis, develop a fingerprint of the contamination. Once fingerprinted, the likely source can be narrowed down. For example, if the contamination is primarily petroleum oils, the crew will look for a gas station, garage, or auto repair shop upstream of the discharge site. Other tracing methods include injecting smoke or dyes into drains to identify direct connections. In complex situations, a miniature video camera can be inserted from an outfall or a manhole to crawl up the system looking for suspicious inflows. Once they are identified and informed of the violation, almost everyone quickly makes the changes necessary to eliminate the problem. If needed, the MS4 has the legal authority to force illicit dischargers to comply. Even when sources cannot be found, other measures can be taken, like posting warning signs near areas where dumping has been reported. Illicit discharge detection and elimination is an important job for just about every employee and contractor. Anytime you are near a storm drain inlet, a catch basin, an outfall, or see a possible threat to stormwater, it should be of great concern to you. Check the drain or outfall for signs of illicit discharges. Keep your senses tuned, and above all, report any obvious or suspicious discharges. You are literally the starting point for IDDE.